Ahead on DC News Now, a break in the case. How a Virginia family's au pair now charged with murder months after the shooting. Sheriff indicted.
I didn't interfere with that job. I was there for my daughter.
Why investigators believe he tampered with evidence.
It's been a dry week so far, but we'll let you know when some showers could roll through on your Friday.
A Special Olympics honor. How a Western Maryland school is recognized for its inclusivity.
Student loan savings, the considerations to stretch your dollar with graduation in the rearview mirror.
The station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Thank you for joining us for DC News Now at 4. I'm Mark Hall.
And I'm Annalisa Gale. Developing now out of Northern Virginia, Fairfax County Police have arrested and charged a family's au pair 7 months after 2 people were killed in their home.
A 37-year-old mom, Christine Banfield, was stabbed to death inside of her Reston home. 39-year-old Joseph Ryan was shot several times.
DC News Now's Haley Milon joins us live near the Reston neighborhood with the latest on the 23-year-old now charged with murder. Haley, how do the charges in this case contradict what we first heard?
Annalisa, Mark, this is a case that has both captivated and horrified this otherwise peaceful and quiet suburban community here in Northern Virginia. The 911 call that first brought first responders to this home here, which was a horrific scene, a man said that he had shot a man who had stabbed his wife. But today, police say that the family's au pair, in fact, had pulled the trigger.
They have identified the au pair as Juliana Perez Margulies, and they have charged her with second-degree murder.
Police say on February 24th around 8 a.m., Julia Perez Margulies shot and killed Joseph Ryan, who they say knew Christine Banfield. Brendan Banfield, a special agent for the IRS, told 911 operators that morning that he had shot a man who'd stabbed his wife.
There's a 34-year-old female that got stabbed by someone, and then he shot him. He doesn't know the person that he shot.
Now police are saying the husband was outside of the home at the time. Ryan died on the scene. Banfield later died at a hospital. A horrific morning turned months-long mystery for neighbors. Some neighbors tell DC News Now that up until Perez Margulies' arrest last week, she'd been working for the family. Police took her into custody one morning as she walked home from the school bus stop. Investigators still hoping to answer the big question that remains.
Continuing to review all digital and forensic evidence and learn how Christine Banfield was fatally stabbed.
And just before coming on air here, I was talking to neighbors who were just absolutely stunned last week when the au pair was taken into custody. On her way home from the school bus stop on a quiet morning. Now, again, police are still investigating. They say that more charges could come against other individuals in this case.
Haley, thanks for that. And what are we learning about the additional charges that could be filed?
Yeah, Annalisa, right now we're hearing that they know who all the persons of interest, all the people involved are. Police are confident that there is not a threat to the public in this case, but again, still more charges could come in this.
Haley Milon, thank you. An overturned crane truck caused major delays earlier today, closing both directions of Sudley Road near Gum Springs Road in Manassas. There were no reported injuries. The roadway has since reopened.
Turning now to Maryland, where Montgomery County Police have suspended Officer Justin Lee for his alleged involvement in the January 6 Capitol riots, and they say they are working to terminate him. Police say Lee was already on leave for his involvement in the death of an armed suspect that happened on July 22nd. They also say Lee participated in the riots before being hired as a Montgomery County police officer. Lee has been suspended without pay.
An update this afternoon, the driver accused of intentionally hitting a Montgomery County police officer along I-270 is being held without bond. That officer lost his legs in yesterday's crash.
And right now, questions still remain about that man's history of reckless driving and his interactions with police.
Randy Bass is live at Montgomery County District Courthouse. Randy, what came out of the courtroom today?
Yeah, Rafael Mayorga appearing in court this afternoon virtually before a packed courtroom filled with uniformed officers and county leaders from across Montgomery County. The judge today saying there's clear and convincing evidence that Mayorga is a danger to the public, and that's why he's being held without bond. Some of that evidence the judge heard today stemming from his past interactions with police, his alleged problematic past with police, and that incident on Wednesday morning. Going back now to what prosecutors are saying, Montgomery County State's Attorney John McCarthy telling reporters in the courtroom today that multiple occasions, multiple times this year, Mayorga led officers on high-speed chases down I-270. He says during some of those previous chases, officers actually talked with Mayorga on the phone to try to get him to stop. He would then dare officers to try and catch him. Prosecutors say Mayorga told officers the only way they'd be able to stop him was with stop sticks to deflate his tires. And that's exactly what Sergeant Patrick Kep was trying to do early Wednesday morning when Mayorga swerved and crushed his legs in a traumatic crash. The big question tonight, though, why did it take multiple high-speed chases and a catastrophic crash to keep Mayorga behind bars?
In the 4 previous chases, he outran the police. There are limitations on police pursuit policies and what they're allowed to do. It took a certain number of days before that arrest warrant could be served. He was, by the way, once he was arrested, he was allowed to remain free on bond.
So Randy, we're going to hear from her coming up on DC News Now at 5.
All right, and that was the win that we heard there. So meteorologist David Matson, how is it looking now? This is a live look at the National Cathedral here at 4-7.
Yeah, I mean, we got the sunshine. It's definitely a nice evening out there, but I think the wind is starting to kick up now ahead of our next storm system here as we approach Friday and Saturday. We're expecting some rainfall and even more wind where that came from, but this is the leading edge of that storm system. And while we still have some sunshine in D.C., we can see the very edge of that cloud cover from this next storm system back across western Maryland into West Virginia is where a good amount of that cloud cover is currently. That will spread out across the rest of the DMV as we move ahead this evening. But there you have those current wind speeds. Not too bad altogether, but we do have wind speeds getting up to 10 to 15 miles an hour, enough to where, yeah, it can mess with the microphones out there for some of our reporters. But nonetheless, breezy conditions have allowed temperatures to jump into the upper 60s and low 70s here. That's where our temperatures sit right now, and it's all because those winds are coming out of the south right now. So you get the sunshine, you get that southerly flow, it's going to warm things up. And this has been our warmest day so far this week. And as we go ahead here this evening, yes, you'll be dealing with a little bit of that wind, but otherwise nothing else major to worry about, folks. We'll see temperatures slowly cool off through the 60s into the upper 50s by 11 p.m. And we'll also notice some of that cloud cover becoming a lot more common as we head into your Thursday night. But you can keep the rain gear at bay for the time being, but come tomorrow morning, it will be a different story. We'll time out when you can expect to see some soggy weather on your Friday and how much more windy it's going to get over the weekend coming up in your full forecast in just a bit.
All right, Damon, thank you. To West Virginia now, where Berkeley County Sheriff Nathan Harmon has been indicted for his role in a traffic investigation involving his daughter. Our Stephen Cohen has the story.
The Berkeley County Sheriff has been indicted, but to be impartial, the police investigation and prosecution were prepared in neighboring counties.
The indictment accuses Sheriff Nathan Harmon of interfering with the investigation of his 23-year-old daughter, Carrie Harmon, on the night of January 6 when she drove her car into a mailbox and some fencing off Cemetery Road outside of Martinsburg. A state police investigation says Harmon was not cooperative with law enforcement and that he tampered with GPS tracking data in the car his daughter drove that night. The grand jury's indictment says Harmon may have also intervened to keep law enforcement from giving his daughter a breathalyzer test. At the time of the accident, the sheriff defended his role.
An officer has to suspect some type of intoxication or that alcohol or something, maybe drugs, were involved. And if there's no suspicion of that, then there will be no preliminary breath test. There will be no field sobriety test.
This afternoon, Harmon doubled down in a statement saying, "I was there as a father. I will walk the people of the jury through a father's eyes, heart." Echoing what he told us when questions about his involvement first surfaced, that he was there as a concerned parent, not as sheriff.
The deputy did his job. I didn't interfere with that job. I was there for my daughter. My daughter goes home with a friend. I go home with a peaceful mind.
If convicted of the charges, Sheriff Harmon faces a fine, imprisonment, or both. Reporting from Martinsburg, Stephen Cohen, DC News Now.
Stephen, thank you. Turning back to Maryland now, there's a new tool for law enforcement in Montgomery County, Maryland. It's called the Prosecutorial Data Dashboard. The new dashboard will feature prosecutorial performance indicators for prosecutors there on conviction of cases and sentence lengths. It will measure timeliness of decision making, case prioritization, diversity of prosecutors, and recidivism. The dashboard will also focus on diversion success rate and disparities in prosecution. The goal is to better assess performance over time.
I really believe that if you build up trust in the community with what you're doing, the likelihood that people would be willing to come forward, report crime, and cooperate with you in the prosecution of crime will go up if they think the system is fair.
Montgomery County is the first county to launch this specific data dashboard in the state.
We wake up every day to somebody dying, every single day.
Continuing coverage tonight, violence in the district is impacting our youth. Tonight at 9, our Mariel Carbone takes a closer look at crime in D.C. and Our Children Speak. That's the title of this segment. Join us as we hear from young people about the changes they want to see in their communities.